I am Matthew C. Scaro,
And I'm Deji Kufarici.
and this is MMA in the Basement. So this last week we saw Floyd Money Mayweather take on Conor McGregor. Wasn't for a belt, but it was, in my opinion, maybe the best prize fight I have ever seen, Deji. What about you? What do you think?
I give it a C-, but it was for a belt, the money belt.
I'll tell you what, the fight itself wasn't necessarily the most entertaining. What I loved about it was all the pageantry, all the showmanship, the smack talk, the Lamborghinis, the Rolls Royces, the embedded videos, the all accesses, all of it leading up to it. I just felt like it made for such an amazing event, and I was not disappointed. I felt like I got my money's worth.
The build-up was awesome. I think that both fighters put on a great display. I think that Conor McGregor's style brought out the best in Floyd Money Mayweather, and we had a pretty decent fight. So maybe not a C-. I definitely think it was definitely a B overall.
So I think that Floyd Mayweather showed why and how that he is the best ever. He really did. He put on a masterful performance. The way that he was able to weather the storm of Conor McGregor and finish him in the later rounds. And by the way, for those who watched our very first podcast, my friend Deji here, the Oracle, he hit the nail on the head, folks. He called this one. He said that it would end in the 8th or 9th round, if I'm correct.
I said 8th, 9th, or 10th. But it started in the 8th, I believe.
It did.
The fall.
Yeah. I think that I think the tides were starting to turn around. The 6th round really was the key
Yeah, that
round
was
for
a
me.
big round. Yeah.
But yeah, and Conor McGregor too, though. I think that Conor showed that he is a world-class fighter. He is a world-class athlete, that he probably can beat some top-ranked fighters, and that he can compete in boxing. I think he could beat Paulie Malignaggi. I don't know if I want to see him beat Paulie Malignaggi, but
Like I mentioned before, I want to see that fight. I think it has a lot of heat to it. Conor does have tremendous upside, a lot of potential. I want to see him in the boxing ring again. I just don't think he should headline. I think it'd be great if he was a co-main event for Joshua or Wilder, even a Triple G or a Canelo future fights. If he's number 2 on the card, I think it brings a lot of eyeballs, and I think boxing needs that. I don't like their cards. I don't like how it's laid out. I think it's really top heavy. No one ever remembers any undercards or any boxing events. But I would like to see him as a the number 2 name on the marquee.
well, maybe these are some of the things that the two sports can rub off onto each other, right? Maybe that boxing can learn to fill out their cards from a mixed martial arts. And I think it's possible that this fight that Conor McGregor took could change the way that the pay scale works in mixed martial arts, at least in the UFC. Maybe not right away, but I think that they are going to eventually have to move towards.
It's trending that way.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm an MMA fighter that's signed to the UFC, I'm looking at what kind of money Conor McGregor's able to pull in, what kind of pay-per-view buys, the revenue from commercials and the TV deals. I mean, that's a lot of money on the table, not to mention the fact that the UFC sold for over $4 billion. So there's money out there to be made, and I think these fighters, they're not W-2, but they're contracted fighters. But there's money out there for them, and they need to find a way to get it. They need to come together. If it may not be in a union, an association, or something like that. So I'd like to see that happen.
And the $4 billion is the reason why I don't think it'll happen overnight with Conor McGregor. I think that the UFC, obviously, having been sold, they're going to have to recoup what they expended for
Absolutely.
that.
There's a lot of creditors that
right.
need their money back.
But eventually, I do think that it's fights like this that are going to garner more eyeballs on the pay scales of mixed martial arts fighters, and I think that's all for the best.
Sorry to cut you off.
No,
I think everybody won in this. I think that, of course, Mayweather got his 50th win. I think that Conor brought it out of him. I think that was a win. I think UFC got a win. They got to showcase Conor McGregor in all his glory leading up to the fight. Show that he's a pretty decent fighter. And also, I think MMA and boxing won. And the fans won, because we got to see a great fight. I mean, we put on a fight party here in the basement, and it was a big turnout. Everybody wanted to see this fight, so I think everybody won at the end. I think the only people that are grumpy are, people that thought this was some kind of circus event or something like that. But this is a prize fight, and they were fighting for a huge prize.
I was a little grumpy with the referee, but otherwise I was entertained. I feel like I got my money's worth with that fight, and I think it's just exactly what everyone kind of expected. But Also in big news this week, John Jones
Yeah.
fails a drug test. That was quite disappointing, honestly, for me to hear.
Right in the midst of this excitement that we were enjoying, I mean, we get hit with Brian Stan leaving the UFC as a commentator, and John Jones getting popped with a PED. You almost expect the unexpected from John Jones now. You know, I don't want to be too critical because I want to see if what happens when the B test comes back or this whatever they call it. But it's a loss for MMA, and not just for the fans. I think it's a loss for up and coming fighters. He's so inspirational. He's a wizard inside that octagon, and I think that talent not being seen, it's a disservice to all of us, especially up and coming fighters, to see someone like that who can create magic, and it's a big loss.
It is a big loss, and I was disappointed. I was so sold on the John Jones redemption story. I really believed that he had turned a corner, that he had cleaned his life up. And John Jones, if you are watching this, I just wanted to say that, you know, I'm still rooting for you. So please, if you're gone for 4 years, come back, please. Because I just think he's one of the most amazing talents this sport has ever seen.
Absolutely.
And I don't think we've seen the best John Jones yet. And unfortunately, we might lose those best years of John Jones.
Yeah, I mean, this is the time where, you know, he's going to be in his prime, and if he's gone for that big of that chunk of a time, that large amount of time, I mean, he's going to lose a step, or even worse, just not be the same person we remember him as.
Yeah. So a little side story. I had the opportunity to interview John Jones years ago. This was before I started working for SureDog, and I remember we were in a hotel, had a somewhat of a guerrilla setup in a corner, and John Jones walked by, and Malky Kawa, his agent, and I said, John, you know, can we do an interview with you? And Malky was waving us off, saying, no, you know, forget about it. Obviously, we were no one, and John walked over and he he introduced himself. He said, how you doing, guys? He said, I would love to do an interview with you. So I found John Jones to be so incredibly humble and really just a very nice guy. So it hurts to hear that.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
you know, I feel like John Jones could have been the ultimate redemption story.
Yeah, it makes you think, though. Everything DC was saying, people didn't want to take DC's side in this, but it almost makes you think, man, maybe DC was right in what he was saying. But that, regardless of that, that's a talent that just should not be gone. So hopefully he gets his stuff together. Crossing my fingers that, you know, it was a tainted supplement. I mean, that's the angle they're going for right now. But if he's gone, hopefully it's not for 4 years. Hopefully, you know, if he has to go on suspension, or if he is suspended, it's a year. If it goes that route.
Well, it's out of all of our hands now, but I think Daniel Cormier should rightfully be given his belt back. He should be the champion. He is the champion. He has not lost, in my opinion.
Yeah. You know, I'd like to see him get his belt back, but after that kind of fight, I want to see fighters take longer times off if they're knocked out or if they're really messed up in a fight. So I would love to see him giving his belt back, but I'd also like an interim belt, kind of like a mini tournament. And, you know, DC comes back in the spring, late winter, and, you know, take on the winner or whoever's holding the interim belt.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I really feel like DC has left to prove, quite honestly. You know, the man was the captain of the Olympic team. He did win the UFC championship, and he defended it multiple times. He only lost it to John Jones. John Jones is the only man I believe he's ever even lost a round to, if I'm correct.
And we got to remember in Strikeforce, he won the tournament.
Yeah.
He was a heavyweight, so he's, I mean, pound for pound, he's got to be up there on the top 10. I mean, it just...
And he's getting a little long in the tooth.
He is, definitely. But like you said, if he's only lost to John Jones, he should be. He should have that belt back, and
hopefully they give him a good fight. And I'm rooting for you, Daniel Cormier. Like I said, I don't think you have anything left to prove, but go out there and beat him up, but take a little time off because that was a really bad knockout.
yeah, it was. It was. I thought that. I mean, we watched it together.
Yeah.
I thought the fight was really going. It was up in the air. I'm not going to say John Jones lost any of the first 2 rounds. I'm not going to say DC controlled it. I think it was a back and forth fight. But like we talk about the talent that John Jones shows to throw that kick and knock out a guy that's never been knocked out before, and finish him off. I mean, that's going to be missed if we do lose John Jones.
Well, a couple other things in the news. It looks like Travis Brown has married Ronda Rousey, so we now have the Browsey couple. And
you know what? Just to touch on that really quick. As soon as those 2 guys came together, their careers fell off. No, have you ever seen what's that Will Smith movie where he's a superhero?
oh, I can't even think of it.
He's like a drunk or whatever. Whatever. But
Anchorman?
no, not Anchorman, silly. Well, anyways, Charlize Theron or whatever her name is. Yeah. Anyways, when they start coming together, their powers start dwindling. So the closer they get on the globe to one another, and that's how I feel. Like, you know, as soon as those 2 superstars, or at least her and the superstar, I think they kind of lost a step, both of them. I don't know.
I think he loses a step the closer he gets to Fabricio Verdun, but that's my opinion.
I don't know. I just think that, you know, best of luck to Ronda, but you know,
Absolutely.
I don't. It's like the couple I didn't want to see. I'm sorry, I'm a hater.
May your children be ninjas. And also we got, Volkov's taking on Stefan Struve this upcoming weekend. Looking forward to that one. I'm picking Volkov. I'm not sure what the line is on that, but I think that he's got better
I'd like to
boxing.
see Struve kind of win, kind of do well. You know, all I can remember is from the knockout to Mark Hunt. So, and he's run into a couple of rough patches with injuries and sicknesses and stuff. So, I like to see him get in there. May the best man win. I don't have any predictions on this fight.
Not to give too many stories in one little podcast, but can I tell you the story about the Stefan Struve Mark Hunt fight?
Absolutely.
So I was watching it. I was going to catch a train, and I was watching it at a little dive bar, and there was no sound on. And there was a man sitting at the bar, and he said, "I hate this stuff. This is brutal. This is human cockfighting." And then he starts to watch Mark Hunt take on Stefan Struve, and this guy's getting into it. He's swinging in the air, and I mean, what an incredibly enjoyable fight that was. And you know, Stefan Struve is known for that. I mean, he's known for putting on memorable fights. He's also known for taking a few too many shots, and that's what I'm concerned about in the Volkov fight.
He does stand tall. He's a tall man. I don't know why he doesn't use his reach to kind of get that distance and control the fight. But it's funny you mention that because it's like, you know, if there's a top NBA player playing on a pickup game on a court and there's a fist fight on the next court, everybody's going to stop and look at the fist fight.
Absolutely. All right, so the fans who are watching this, can someone please fact check, find out if this is the tallest fight in history, the two tallest fighters together. That's a factoid I'm kind of wondering.
Another thing too, best memes from this weekend. The funniest one I got came from a friend, Mark. It was, you know, when you're about to get $300 million, but you don't want the IRS to know. and it's Floyd Mayweather in the mask walking to the ring. So I thought that was one of the funniest ones.
I thought he looked like the Gimp from Pulp Fiction. That's what I thought. You guys were saying Janet Jackson. I don't know.
I don't know. It was
quite an outfit.
I didn't. He never explained it, did he?
I don't. No, he didn't. Not that I know.
I don't think it was a robbery. I don't think he stole our money. I think it was entertaining. So I was gonna say, yeah, this guy's about to steal our money again, but it was actually entertaining. I think he gave us a show.
I was, and I hope you're entertained this evening. Again, this is MMA in the Basement, and I am Matthew C. Scaro.
And I'm Deji Kufrici.
Signing out.